Okay, good day and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. For today's video, I'm going to make a virtual teaching demonstration. So this video is intended for the subject course JED 114 Section FF, Teaching Literature in the Elementary Grade Level. So for today's lesson, we're going to talk about the story of Hansel and Gretel. So anyway, I'm Majid Taib Muhammad Ryan, fourth year students from College of Education major and General Education in Elementary. Okay, so before we formally start our discussion here, I just want to greet you Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, students. So how are you today, class? Okay, very good. So is there anyone absent in my class today? Okay, very good. We have a perfect attendance. So class, can you still remember our previous lesson yesterday? Yes, it's all about the genres of literature. So can you mention those genres of literature that I've discussed yesterday? Yes, Eliza. Fiction, non-fictions, horror, and fantasy. So the genres of literatures describe what kind of story is all about. For example, fiction, non-fiction, and horror and fantasy. So for today's lesson, we are going to learn the story of Hansel and Gretel. So, are you familiar with Hansel and Gretel? Yes, Hansel and Gretel are the characters that we usually heard and saw in the storybook that children often read. So for today's lesson, we are going to watch the story of Hansel and Gretel. And what I want you to do, class, is to take down notes about the important details of the story, because after watching the video, we will have a test. Okay, are we clear, class? Okay, very good. So let's go and watch the video.
Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel lived with their father and stepmother in a little cottage near a forest. The father was a poor woodcutter. Once when food was scarce, he said to his wife, "What will become of us? We have so little to eat. I am afraid the children will starve." Now, the stepmother was really a witch, and she did not love the children, and she wanted to get rid of them. After the children went to bed, she said to their father, "Tomorrow morning we will take Hansel and Gretel into the forest and leave them there. They will not be able to find their way home again, and we will not have to worry about them anymore." "Oh, no!" cried the father. "I cannot do that to my poor children." But the wicked stepmother forced him to agree to the plan. In the next room, the children were still awake. They heard what their stepmother was planning to do. "We are lost!" cried Gretel, weeping bitterly. But Hansel comforted her. "Don't cry, Gretel," he said. "I shall take care of you." Before the sun rose the next morning, the stepmother awakened the children.
"Get up," she said. "We are all going to the forest to cut wood."
Before they left the house, she gave each of the children a piece of bread.
"Save it for your supper," she told them. "You will not get any more to eat."
He made crumbs out of his crust of bread and dropped them along the path. "We will find our way back by following the crumbs," he whispered to Gretel. But alas, when morning came, they could not find any breadcrumbs. The birds had eaten them. The children started to walk through the forest. They walked all day. At last, they stopped to rest beneath a tree. they saw a lovely white bird sitting on a branch singing sweetly. When the bird flew away, they followed him. Suddenly, Hansel and Gretel came upon a little cottage. It was made of gingerbread, and the windows were of transparent sugar. There were cookies and cakes and candy all over the outside of the house, and the roof was covered with vanilla icing. They ran towards it eagerly. Hansel broke off a chocolate cookie, and Gretel tasted some of the window. "Ooh, what a fine meal we will have," they said happily. Just then, a shrill voice called out from the cottage.
Nibble, nibble like a mouse. Who is nibbling at my house?
The children answered, "It's only the wind, the wind." Just then, the door opened, and out came a bent old woman leaning on a cane.
Don't be frightened,
said the old woman sweetly to the children.
Come inside and have a proper meal. I know you must be hungry and tired.
She took the children into the house and gave them each a dish heaped with pancake and a big glass of milk.
I live here all alone,
said the old woman,
and I am happy to have company.
After the children had eaten, she put them to bed. They soon fell fast asleep in the two clean beds. Now, this old woman, who seemed to be kind, was really a wicked witch. She enticed children to her gingerbread house, and then she kept them prisoners until she ate them. The next day, the witch took Hansel by the hand and led him to a little cage in her stable. Before he knew what was happening, she had pushed him in and locked the cage door. Then the witch said to Gretel,
"Now you will do my housework. But first fetch some water and cook some food to fatten up your brother. When he is fat enough, I shall eat him."
Gretel cried bitterly, but she had to do as she was told. After a few weeks passed, the witch became angry.
"Enough!"
she cried.
"Gretel, draw the water and boil the pot. Be he fat or be he lean, tomorrow I shall feast on him."
Gretel cried and begged, but the old witch had no mercy. The next day, the witch said to Gretel,
"While the pot is boiling, we will do the baking. I have heated the oven."
Pushing Gretel to the oven, she said,
"Climb in and see if it is hot enough now to bake the bread."
But Gretel knew what the witch had in mind, so she said, "I don't know how to climb in. Will you show me how?"
"Silly goose,"
cried the witch.
"The opening is big enough. Why, I could climb in myself."
And the witch climbed into the oven. At that moment, Gretel slammed the door shut. Now Gretel jumped with joy and sang out, "Now you're in the oven and I'm out here. I let out my brother and then we'll both cheer." Gretel rushed to the cage and opened the door to let Hansel out. They hugged each other for joy. Hansel and Gretel and their father went home with plenty of gold. They never went hungry again, and they all lived happily ever after, never wishing for anything.
Okay, so the ending of the story, class, is very much satisfying. It is because they live happily ever after. So the question here is, Who are the protagonists of the story? Yes, that's correct. Hansel and Gretel. So Hansel and Gretel are siblings, while the antagonist of the story is the stepmother and the wicked witch. So the setting of the story is first is in the wood where the family live, and the next setting is the forest where the wicked witch uh, no, Hansel and Gretel get lost. So the last one is at the house of the wicked witch, which is the chocolate house. So the climax of the story for this story is, what do you think, class? What situation of the story that will be described as the climax of the story? Yes, when they were captured by the witch. So how about the theme, class? How about the theme? Yes, the theme for this story is all about family in marriage. So the moral lesson we have here, class, is the life of Hansel and Gretel is not easy as you think, because as we watch in the video, uh, they face obstacles while returning to their home. So the moral lesson of the story is acceptance. So don't do anything that you will regret. Love and take care of each member of your family. So for our quiz, get one whole sheet of paper and write your realizations about the story in the 3 paragraph form. So I will give you 10 minutes to finish this. Then after that, for our assignment, we will have a role play or stage play. We will group you into 3 groups, class. So we will do this next meeting. So I think that's all. Thank you for listening, class. Let's